No, we're in the Shir post Shavuos, but still in the midst of the celebration of the holiday of the receiving of the Torah. As we know, these days are the days of the Hashlama, the days that we are able to go and to fill in that which was which Shavuos misses in comparison to all the other Yomim Tovim, Pesach and Sukkot, because Shavuos doesn't have Chol HaMoeds. It doesn't have days, intermediate days. And since this is so, Chachamim made a takana, they made an enactment that people that came for the holiday of Shavuos and they have the mitzvah of bringing the korban re'iyah, the sacrifice upon coming and seeing the Beis Hamikdash and being seen by the Holy One, blessed be He, we are allowed to go into sacrifice this korban in honor of the Yontif throughout the days of Hashloma. In other words, until the 12th day of Sivan, including the 12th day of Sivan. And in honor of these days, we know in Halacha, we don't say Tachnun in these days. For example, they're days that we are told to add in our happiness, in our joy. So obviously, we also have to add in our happiness and joy in regard to our shir, in regard to the story, in regard to everything that we do. So this is a story that goes back years in the country of Austria, in Vienna, and it has to do with the Shliach there, Rabbi Yackov Biderman, who was a tzeitzah. He comes from the family of the Admor of Leilov. But he is a full-fledged Lubavitcher Shliach of the Rebbe Melech Ha'Moshiach. He's been there at least, I'd say, 40 years in Austria, if not more. But before we get to the story, just a little background and how it's connected with Shavuos. When we speak about Shavuos, there's the famous story in the Talmud, that when Hashem wanted to go and to give the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu, to give to Am Yisrael, to give to us, so the angels were up at arms in heaven, and they not only resented it, but they didn't want to allow the Torah to be given to the Jewish nation. And they said to Hashem, "What's going on?" They said in these words, Ten hodcha al hashomayim. You should place your glory upon the heavens. How can you take the most valuable of treasures, which is considered to be Hashem's glory, the Torah, Hashem's wisdom, chochmasei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and go and put it amongst human beings, amongst people of flesh and blood, amongst people that are going to Chas v'sholom, they're going to go and to desecrate the Torah instead of guarding its holiness. And the question that immediately rises, obviously we know this. The continuation of the story is that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to answer them, and Moshe Rabbeinu answered very in the most sharpest of manners. Moshe Rabbeinu comes and tells the angels, "Listen, you guys. It says in the Torah that I am Hashem. The Ten Commandments, it says, I am Hashem who has taken you out of Egypt. Were you in slavery in Egypt that you have to be taken out of Egypt? No. And then it says that you're supposed to honor your mother and father. Do angels have parents, mother and father that they can honor? Of course not. And so also in regard to all the other commandments, not to kill, not to steal. All these things have nothing to do with the everyday habitat of an angel. And therefore, here immediately, he proved to the angels that it's not something for them. It's something that's meant to be for human beings, for people of flesh and blood. But if we look into the details, something is really, really not understood. What's the big deal? Why did the angels have to go and start a fight, start an argument? Why not just they didn't have copy machines then? Make a copy, another set of tablets, and give the angels. Let it be also in the heavens, also on earth. Oh, there's 2 sets of tablets. So make 2 sets of tablets for heaven and 2 sets of tablets for the mundane world. But what's the root of the argument that the angels literally did not want to give up the Torah and to allow it to be down here in the mundane world? What's explained is, and it's a very deep explanation, but at the same time, it is just so simple. The Torah tells us very clearly that when the Torah has been given to us, to Bnei Adam, to the Jewish nation, so we have not only the Torah in our jurisdiction. If the Torah would be in our jurisdiction, so make another set of Torah. It says before Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Mount Nevo and he parted from the Jewish nation, he wrote 13 Sefer Torahs that day. It was a miraculous feat. It takes, even the most fastest of Sofers, Rabbi Zirkin, I remember, he would write the Sefer Torahs for the Jewish nation, to the unity of the Jewish nation. It took him around 6 months, half a year. That's fast. You can go into his room and you could see how he was writing. He was writing even faster than we write with a regular pen or pencil. But okay, miracles are miracles. You can do it. Hashem is almighty, right? So you can go and you can make another set for the angels. It's not just the fact that we have the Torah in our jurisdiction. Tana ha'itcha al hashomayim. It means to give your glory. In other words, it's giving the empowerment of Hashem's glory. When Hashem is giving us the Torah, he gave us the Torah, and again from this past Shavuos, he's giving us the empowerment of the Torah. The Torah has the empowerment over the entire creation, over the boundaries of time and space, to the extent that it states that if down here Beis Din went and we were me'aber the shana, we deemed it, the Beis Din deemed that this year should be an Iber year, in other words, a year of 13 months, and this comes and changes the entire calculation of all the holidays. The holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur. If we add another month, so we're celebrating Yom Kippur way after Sukkot, in the middle of Cheshvan. If we're adding another month, and if we made a mistake, if the Beis Din down here made a mistake, it could be we're only flesh and blood. Hashem says, "Atem atem shegigim, atem mizidim." This, the power to go and to have the control of the creation, to have the power and the control over time and space. Hashem has given us this empowerment, this fortification, which is way beyond just having a Sefer Torah to study out of, or to having another set of luchos, of tablets. It's literally the power of Hashem here in this mundane world. Not only the power of Hashem, but Hashem says that He Himself, Hashem, commits Himself to whatever the Beis Din, the Jewish court of law, deems to be the halacha. So if we were shogeg, if we did it by mistake, that's the halacha. And even if we did it mezidim, purposely we went and there was a halacha that was deemed in the Beis Din, even if it's on purpose, and we knew that was wrong, once it's done, it's done. Can't turn back. And Hashem Himself takes upon Himself to go and to hearken and to listen and to observe the entire year according to what the Beis Din says. So what the angels were fighting about, what they were arguing about, what they were coming and fighting tooth and nail about was not just the Torah, the contents of the Torah, but the power of receiving the Torah. And this is the power of being the balabos, being the actual owner, having the ownership over the creation, being not only the material world, the spiritual worlds. If we're going to go, if we're changing things around, so it's the songs that the angels are singing by day, by night, everything changes, even in the celestial beings, in the spiritual worlds. This is what the angels were arguing about, and this is the value and the dearness that Hashem has given us, the Torah, and this is what it's all about. And this is where we're told, Tzadik goizer v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekayim, that a Tzadik, a righteous person, the Tzadik of a generation, if he goes and he makes an enactment, he makes a decree down here, Hashem goes and fulfills that decree up in the heavens, even though it could be that in the heavens they came to a different conclusion. In the heavens, it could be that Yom Kippur should be the next day. And we see different disputes in the Gemara between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yehoshua. And Rabbi Yehoshua said, no, Yom Kippur is the following day. Rabban Gamliel commanded Rabbi Yehoshua to come with his bag, with his backsack and his stick, to come on the day that he said was Yom Kippur. And literally, this means he's desecrating Yom Kippur. But according to Rabban Gamliel, the leader of the generation, then the Yom Kippur was the previous day. And he told him the next day, the day that you say it's Yom Kippur, you have to come with your bag and with your stick, and you have to sit down and eat. Why? Because the Beis Din down here deemed it that Yom Kippur is the day before, and not according to what your opinion is. Even if you're great, unbelievable scholar. Tzadik Geizer v'Hakadosh Baruch Hu Mekayim, the righteous person of the generation, decrees, and Hashem fulfills the decree. And about this, we're told, getting back to Austria, back to our story. So Rabbi Biderman, for many years, he ran the Jewish school. He had a very humble but strong presentation in Vienna. And at the beginning, many Jews that came actually from Russia and from different places, they came through Austria before they came to Israel. When I was running the Gan Yisrael day camp, the camp over there, so I even saw people that were Russians that came through Austria. They went to Israel and they left Israel, came back to Austria because they weren't able to keep the standards of life here in Israel, so they left Israel. Whatever. But came year after year, and the Jewish congregation started to grow and grow and grow, and people were coming to Rabbi Biderman. They wanted to have their children in the Jewish Chabad school, but it was already zero space. It was already almost impossible, and these people. We're not talking about observant Jews. We're talking about Jews that totally were, for the time being, were disconnected from Torah, from mitzvahs. If they didn't have their children accepted in this school, so Rahman al-Islam, they would probably go otherwhere. They would go to the public schools amongst the Goyim in Vienna, in Austria. So he needed something. He needed a miracle. Comes a day, and a Mr. Lauder. He was the U.S. representative in Vienna, but actually he was a person on his own accord. He came from the very. He came from the very wealthy Lauder family, I think, with all the cosmetics and so on. And and he speaks to Rabbi Biderman, and Rabbi Biderman shares with him his problem, his sorrow. And Mr. Lauder, however you want to pronounce it, he says to Rabbi Biderman, listen, I'm willing to give you money to go and to build a campus for all the Jewish children of Vienna, from the preschool, kindergarten, until college. That's a lot of money to go and to give a campus from preschool till college. On one condition, though, he says, it has to be an essential place in Vienna. It has to be an essential place in Vienna that everyone is going to have the realization. Everyone will acknowledge that this school is the Jewish school, and it's going to be called, named after Mr. Lauder. Rabbi Biderman at the time had no idea where he's going to be able to find land in order to go and to put up such a campus that'll be in the center of the city. But nevertheless, he told Mr. Lauder, listen, if you're going to put up the money, I'm going to take care of the technical side. And he went and he took immediately, he didn't want to lose Mr. Lauder's proposal. He immediately took an architect, and he asked the architect to go and to draw up such a beautiful and spacious campus that will be able to go and to contain all these Jewish children and youngsters and even adults. We're talking about college. And he went and he wrote. He started the drawings. And they were advertising. He took the biggest and most expensive architect in Vienna. Word got around that this architect is drawing up a campus this large, and someone from the municipality center of Austria contacted. Someone from the municipality center of Austria contacted the architect, and he told the architect, listen, get in touch with the rabbi that you're drawing up the drawings for, and tell him that I have a win-win proposition for him. What's the proposition? He explained. There is an enormous building. It used to be a hospital. This hospital was for a Jewish hospital that was for Jewish children that came down during World War II. They came down with tuberculosis, and it was such a place that people stayed away from it. And in order to make sure that there's no bacteria, there's no germs that will be contagious, they actually burnt the entire inside of the building. So it was just a structure standing there. But where is this building? In the center of town. It was literally in the center of town, in one of the most beautiful, it was neighboring one of the most beautiful parks and gardens in Vienna. If anyone will ever go there and visit there, you'll be able to see this place. And he said, we haven't been able to do anything, bupkis, with this building for all these years. Why? Because no one wants to take it. No one wants to go into it. No one wants to have anything to do with the building. It's like a cursed building. But this is a piece of the Jewish congregation, and I would like to go. And he had a hand in this territory. He said, I would like to go and to give it. If you would build the campus here, so I'll make sure that everything goes smooth in the municipality center, so that you'll get the building and we'll have the building taken care of, and everything is going to be at peace. Rabbi Biderman, he was like unbelievable and such high joy. Say, the architect told him, and he told Mr. Lauder, and everyone wanted to make a l'chaim and start celebrating until the municipality center started to speak about it in public, and this got word to the it's like the green, the Green Institute in the municipality. They also have like a factor of the Green Institute, and they take care of everything that has to do with nature. When they heard that this enormous campus is going to be opening up right next to the most magnificent gardens and park in Austria and Vienna, so they said no way, and they started publicizing the fact that they're against it and they're not going to allow it to go through in the municipality center. And wow, what is he going to do now? A moment ago he was rejoicing, and now he's already he's in mourning. At this point, Rabbi Biderman tells that all of a sudden his mind opened up, and he came to the conclusion that he's running everything upside down. The first thing a chassid, a Lubavitcher, a Shliach, the first thing that a Shliach does is, before you go and you start any project, the smallest or the biggest, you write the Rebbe. You write the Rebbe for the Rebbe's bracha and for the Rebbe's advice. Okay, it was already after Gimel Tammuz. Okay, so to go on to write a letter to 770 it's already a different era. But he went and he decided that now is the time. He put on his jacket, he put on his gartel, he washed his hands, Negelwasser, and he wrote the Rebbe the entire situation, and he asked for the Rebbe's bracha. And he put it in the Igros Kodesh, in the book of the Rebbe's letters. The next morning, he gets a phone call from the head of the Jewish Federation in Vienna, who is a good friend of his, he knows him. And he says, listen, there's a person that contacted me that says that he must speak to you. Who is this person? Listen, make the meeting and I'll tell you afterwards. He set up a meeting with this person. And we'd like to welcome our Kohen, our local Kohen, MB Katz of Meshaber, who is now back in Ra'anana, if I'm not mistaken. He was here for Shavuos, by the way. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hafei. So he has this meeting with this very important person. This person's already in his 90s. He looks like he's in good shape. He's a used model, but he's in good shape. Baruch Hashem, in his 90s. And he sits down and he starts telling Rabbi Biderman, listen, when he was a young man, so they had the main newspaper of Austria, of Vienna, and this newspaper, it was the major newspaper when the Nazis, the Germans, came into Austria. So his father wanted to go and to show not only honor and respect, but he wanted to show that he's in cahoots with the new leadership. So he went and he started to go and to, unfortunately, to go and to put all types of, almost like blood libels, writing and harassing the Jews. And this was in order to go and to show that he was together with this new Nazi German leadership, Yamach Shmam Zichram. At the time, the son, who was a young man, he really didn't have a say as to what to yay or nay, but he felt very bad. He had a very, very bad feeling about the fact that his father is putting in things that are false. They have nothing to do with the truth. And he's writing things about the Jews. Time went by, the war passed, and the Holocaust went by, and his father also died. And who took over the newspaper? The young man, the son. And the son was taking care of this newspaper till that day. He was director of the newspaper. It's one of the biggest newspapers in Vienna. Literally, every morning you have like 500,000 people opening up his newspaper. Okay, but he said, but now he came to his old age, and he has a terrible, terrible, guilty conscience of what happened during the times in World War II, and he wants to go and to talk to Rabbi Biderman to ask him his advice. What can he do to, so to speak, reciprocate, or to, to go and to do tshuva for what he did? Now, he was coming to Rabbi Biderman. I mean, he's not used to hearing confessions in inverted commas. And this person, a goy, was giving literally his confession to Rabbi Biderman. Rabbi Biderman took a moment and he started to think. And then it was in the times of the terrible, terrible situation in Eretz Yisrael, that the Intifada, there were things, buses blowing up on right and left. Hashem Yishmor, we shouldn't know of such things anymore. So he said, listen, the world is going against the Jewish nation, against Israel. So if you would go and you would show your sympathy, towards Israel, this would be a way of, so to speak, going and correcting everything you did during Second World War. Okay, the guy heard what he had to say and he left. Next morning, he calls up Rabbi Biderman and he says, listen, Rabbi Biderman, it doesn't work. I don't feel that this is something that can go and be a correction for all the terrible things that I did during the time of my father running the paper. There has to be something else. Rabbi Biderman thinks for a moment and he says, listen, come to my office today. I have something to offer you. Comes to the office, this 90-year-old Gentile, the director of the newspaper, and he sits down and he says, no, Rabbi Biderman, what do you have to say? He says, listen, we have a project, and this project is basically going and scoping all the Jewish youth here in Vienna, here in Austria. And it's the building of this broad and an enormous campus for educating children, Jewish children, so that they should remember that they're Jews and they should not forget what it means to be Jewish and how to observe Judaism. But we have these people that are going against us. We have these people, the green the green fragment in the municipality center that are going and they're making terrible terrible PR against us, that we're taking away their parks and we're taking away their gardens. The man literally didn't even allow Rabbi Biderman to finish his sentence. He stood up, went to the door, left Rabbi Biderman's office and shut the door. Rabbi Biderman didn't know, he's also a backer of the gardens and the parks. What? The next morning, Rabbi Biderman goes out to shul, and the newspapers already out on their carts, and Rabbi Biderman sees the headlines. What are the headlines of this guy's newspaper? What's more important? trees and grass or human beings? That was the headline. What's more important, trees and grass or human beings? And this is exactly what he wrote, an enormous, a full editorial of how people are going and they're giving more credit to the trees and the grass and the flowers than the education of the Jewish congregation of Vienna, Austria. Immediately, the municipality center started to send messages to the newspaper, telling the newspaper, please back off. Don't write any more editorials. We'll take care of it. And that week, they went and they had talks, and the Green Institute, the fragment of the Greens, as much as they were against it, they were forced to go and to give in. And to this day, there is the most beautiful, enormous Jewish campus in, not all, I would say maybe even in the world, going from age 0 to college in Vienna, Austria. What was this? How did it come about? It wasn't Mr. Lauder that, by the way, it's the Lauder Educational Center. He has his name up on it. But it wasn't him. It wasn't his money. Even with him and his money, he couldn't get over the municipality center. When the Tzadik is geyser, when the righteous Tzadik of the generation makes a decree, and he decrees that the campus is going to go up, so no one can go in to say anything against it. This is the power of Matan Torah, that Hashem gave us the empowerment not just to sit and to study the Torah, the empowerment of the creation, like it states in the Zohar, the Holy One, blessed be He looked into the Torah, so to speak, because He chose to create the world from the Torah. Everything in the creation, including the limitations of time and space, everything is in the Torah. And when a Jew has the Torah, when we receive the Torah at Har Sinai, and we received the Torah from Nu a few days ago, on Friday, we have renewed our balabatishkeit, our ownership over the creation, which Hashem has bestowed upon us. And we have that ability, this ability, when we connect with our neshama, and when we connect with the neshama klolis, the general neshama of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach in our generation, that this should be the decree, and this is what Hashem is going to observe, the decree of the Tzadik. And since the Rebbe has already decreed that Moshiach is already here, and the Geula is already here, and he's told us that he himself is the Moshiach, and it's only a matter of going and revealing this existence to the entire world, to the creation. So Hashem has to follow this decree of the Rebbe, and he has to give us this revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach on a good and revealed basis, with joy and happiness, simcha v'tuv levav, and happiness of the heart, in a manner of peace and tranquility. And the main thing is, it should be teteichef umiyad, immediately, literally, mamish, mamish, mamish. Yechi Adoneinu Moreinu v'Rabbeinu HaMelech HaMoshiach le'olam voed. Amen.